So we're here with Thomas Bjorn, fantastic golfer, of course, 15 tournament wins around the European Tour, and another 11 as well, I think, 26 tournament wins of all around the world. But also, there's not many Mr. Ryder Cups, but this guy is definitely Mr. Ryder Cup. 3 times a winner as a player, 3 times I think as a vice captain, and most important of all, winner in 2018 as captain of Europe. He's back again in 9 days' time. Vice captain as well. Are the juices beginning to get going, Thomas?
Yeah, they always do. It's such a great special event, and obviously been fortunate to be part of many of them. And none of them are the same, but they all get you going, and it's exciting times for European golf at the moment. A lot of new young superstars coming through. So looking forward to it.
Now, you were a bit of a trailblazer because Denmark, you think football, you think cheese, you think beer, but you didn't used to think golf. How did what made you want to become a golfer? Clearly you were good at it, but you wouldn't have grown up as a small kid thinking, I want to be a golfer, because you didn't have any Danish role models, did you?
No, but then you had a lot of role models from abroad, I guess, when you grow up as a kid, and I don't know if you grow up wanting to especially be Danish. I wanted to be Jack Nicklaus or Sevi Ballesteros. Those were the people I looked up to when I was a kid. And I was good at it. I think as any man that becomes somewhat successful in sports, you just set out with that. It's all a game and it's all a lot of fun and it's just what you want to do and you don't think more of it. And then kind of year on year you kind of build and then doors open and opportunities arises and then you kind of go, oh, well, I'll try this out and see what that's like. I've met a lot of. My mum wasn't particularly happy and she didn't think it was a good idea, but I had my older brother was great. He was a decent player himself and he pushed me very hard, both to be a good amateur, but then when the day came and I thought I wanted to try it out, he was a big support to me, but also within the 4 walls of our family and supporting making that decision.
Now, golf is a very individual game. Yes, you have your caddy, but it's ultimately down to you. Of course, the beauty of the Ryder Cup is that it's a team game, isn't it? When did the Ryder Cup first come into your conscience? When did you look at that and think, wow, I want to be part of that?
I watched, as a kid, you watched those ones in the 80s and when it became continental Europe and, those 85, 87, 89 Ryder Cups that were special. And then
obviously, when Europe started to win as well.
It was when you were a kid and you watched TV and watched golf on TV on the weekend and they were obviously very, inspiring and it was the European greats. I think 91 for me was the one that kind of, that real hard fought battle at Key Island and, it was a tough loss for Europe, but it was the one that kind of made me realize that, this was on par with the biggest sporting events in the world. It took golf to a different level and to a different audience and that was the one that really, festered in my mind and I never thought it was something that was going to come to me playing in it, but it was something that I loved watching, and 6 years after I played in the Ryder Cup, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a year after you got onto the European Tour. You hit the ground running, didn't you? You won a tournament, and there you are, 1997, Valderrama, and who is the captain but one of your everybody's hero, Sevi Ballesteros, and everybody I've spoken to who was in that European team say. It was as if there were 20 Sevis for those 3 days. He was everywhere.
He was everywhere. Everywhere and nowhere, I think. That was mostly it was pleasant Spanish chaos for most of the week, but it worked. And, I think the man was, he was a great inspiration. And conversations, when you had one-on-one conversations with him, it was a fantastic moment, obviously, for a young player to have the opportunity to have those conversations were very special. The kind of organisation of the whole team and trying to balance everything out was maybe had a little bit of Spanishness about it. It was a bit like little bit chaotic, and it's certainly some of the more experienced players I think found it extremely difficult. But it worked, and I think we were more scared of losing than we were inspired to win. He was him in a room was. He was a big character. He was a character that he installed fear in the Americans. He installed fear in us.
And he loved it, didn't he? He loved the Ryder Cup.
And it was. I think he realised when he fought such a hard battle to get Europe involved. Before it was only Great Britain and Ireland, and he fought that battle. And when Europe almost won in 83, I think it was, there was a lot of sadness in the team, but he saw that as an inspiration for Europe actually having a chance to win the Ryder Cups after many years of losing, and he saw it as a great opportunity for not just for the players in the team, but for European golf to make a statement about how great European golf could be. And then we were fortunate, we ran into a long list of great champions in the 80s that obviously all helped propel the Ryder Cup into what it is today. But he was the man that saw the opportunities and saw that it could be different. He saw it as a great event that could inspire, that people could love being a part of, and I think he felt like it could also reach beyond the borders of the game, and golf is very much, and always has been, a game that, people that love golf and are vested in the game, they love going to events, but it never really reached beyond the borders of the game. Yeah. But the Ryder Cup certainly does that.
Yeah. Tell me, everybody I've ever spoken to who plays in the Ryder Cup says the same thing, Thomas, which is, it's one thing playing in a tournament and it's you against yourself and you against the other guys. But when you're teeing off on that first day, the Ryder Cup, the nerves are so much more. And is it because now if you let yourself down, you let yourself down, but in the Ryder Cup you're letting your team down as well? Did you feel it was a bigger deal? The nerves were more as a Ryder Cup player?
Yeah, I think the nerves are more because it becomes about, it becomes that kind of tribalism you see in team sports, and you especially see in football. And when you look into the crowds, and when you're playing at home, 80% are with you and 20% against you, and the other way around when you're away. But you have the tribalism of everybody's with you. When you play individually, people support whoever they support, and they kind of support a little bit here and a little bit there, but they're just more there to watch some good golf. But in this event, it becomes a completely different thing. It becomes that us against them feeling, and when you walk onto the first tee, and it's a funny week, the Ryder Cup, because kind of the practice days are kind of very low key, and the mood is kind of low, and as a rookie, you sometimes feel, when is this going to get going? And you walk on that first tee on Friday morning, and it's a complete different atmosphere, and you get drawn into something that you can't really prepare for, and it's impossible to prepare young players for it. You can't describe to them.
You learn on the job. Yeah,
you can't describe to them how daunting it is. But I always try and say, just remember that I've been a part of many, and I stood on that first tee a lot. And you watch the best and the greatest players in the world walk down on that tee, and they look very different on that tee than they do on any tee at a normal event. So, everybody feels it, and it's a great opportunity. I always think with sports people, when you're at the peak of your game, when you are in the height of your career, you put sports people in the high pressure situations, and they have the ability, through the confidence and belief when they're at the peak, to actually elevate themselves to greatness. And that's why we see, the best sports people, not just in golf, but in any sports.
Messi in the World Cup final.
They elevate themselves on the biggest stage, and that's what it's all about. And that's the golf you sometimes see in the Ryder Cup. Sometimes I go away from it afterwards and think, well, it's impossible for players that is just underneath there to compete with these guys because of the way they play. But but they kind of do when they come back to normal events. But the level of golf is sensational at times, and it's so inspiring to watch. You know, the greatest players at this moment in time in that situation being that good.
You won in 2002 as well, and 2014, but then in 2018, you were the captain of Europe. And we talked about the difference between being a player and being a player in the Ryder Cup. Suddenly, you're the captain. This is a whole new set of skill sets that you need. You've got to pick the right team. And I guess it's not just who are the best, but the dynamics. You've got to let people down. You've got the dreadful phone calls to make to people you've played alongside for years. You then got, which I really want to know about, is you have to do the speech the night before it begins in front of billions of people, which you did very well. I mean, how did you feel about? How long did you practice for that? How many times did you rewrite it? And how did you feel when you'd finished delivering that speech?
It's I think when you get the captaincy, I think it was one of the first things I thought about. It was one of the first things I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like that's the one thing that really...
We've seen some bad ones in our time, haven't we?
We've seen some suspect ones, let's put it that way. But it's just but I had some very good help. Like I had some really good people around me. Obviously, a guy helped me write the speech, and I had a guy helping me with the deliverance of the speech and all these things, and I practiced it a lot. And as it progressed, I more and more realized that it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me. I mean, all the players would know I hate being in the limelight like that, and they were kind of giving me a little bit of stick as especially the guys I knew well. They knew that I wasn't looking forward to it, and so they were giving me a bit of stick in the days up to it. But I saw it as an opportunity to probably surprise the players a little bit, and also kind of give the impression that, well, I am prepared. You know, I've done all my bits.
You get it right. It's a good start, isn't it, to the whole weekend?
I've done everything I need to do.
Yeah.
You know, and this was one of the moments that you guys know that I don't look forward to, but I'm still going to deliver it. I'm still going to do it. And I have to say, a couple of them pulled me aside afterwards, and you know, as much as they don't like to say they're proud, and you could see in them that they were proud of that moment because they knew it meant a lot to me. Yeah. And I think they didn't, I wouldn't say inspired them, but it made them know that we'd done everything we could. Now is for them to go and deliver on the golf course.
When you won that Ryder Cup, it was Phil Mickelson, wasn't it, conceding against, well, the man of the Ryder Cup, Francesco Molinari, played 5-1-5. Him and Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, it was coming because you had a very, very dominant lead, but it's not over till it's over, is it? So how did you feel when you knew for certain the Ryder Cup was won? Because it must be a great honour being a European Ryder Cup captain, but it can't be great if you lose.
No, it is a great honour because a lot of it comes from the players. You know, the players are, you know, if they're not directly involved in choosing the captain, they're certainly indirectly involved. You know, they certainly in conversation lead, you know, the people that make the decision into who they want as a captain. So from that point of view, it is a great honour that you represent them and their thoughts. No, it's not over till it's over. But I think the one thing that you have the captaincy for so long, and obviously in the process you're working very hard, and and then there's a moment there a few weeks out from the Ryder Cup where all your prep is done, everything is in place, and you sit there at home on the sofa and you realise that, you know, it doesn't matter what I've done so far, you know, for all these months. If we don't win, I'm a villain, and if we do win, it becomes, you know, you become the hero, and that's a little bit of a, you know, that hits in deep, and you go to bed, and that's kind of the thought that keeps going around you the last week before the Ryder Cup, and that's obviously not a nice feeling to have, but it's one of those moments you do have. But it also made me realize, well, you've done all your prep, you've done all the things you could do, and in the end, you know, you're at the mercy of 12 players, and them wanting to be there, them wanting to do it together, them wanting to play for themselves, for their countries, and for everything we stand for. And I was fortunate in that way. I had 12 guys that showed up, and they really did all show up.
Yeah, well, you hammered them, didn't you, in the end? Proudest moment of your career?
I don't like, I don't like mixing my individual career with my Ryder Cup captaincy, because it's on such a, it's obvious there's such a focus on it, and there's so many things, and extremely proud of that moment. But I also always look back to where I come from, and the kind of train I set in motion in Danish golf, and there's a lot of things there I'm proud of, and I don't really want to mix the two. It's for me, it's not really about that. I gave 20 months and I gave everything I had for the captaincy, and I love doing it. I love being with those players, and I'm eternally grateful to them for what they did. And it was the most amazing time. I got to say, like, working with people in France, working with the people that organised this was an unbelievable experience. I mean, we had Paris at our feet, me and Grace, for 20 months, and it was an amazing 20 months. It really was. It was the best of times you can have. But when I look back at my whole career and where Danish golf has come from, when I set out to where it is today, there's a lot of things to be proud of. We're producing player after player that can compete at the highest level in the game, men and women, and it's that is a fantastic thing to now sit and look back at. I'm 52 years old, and I see 20-year-olds compete at the highest level in world golf.
And you're too modest to say so, but maybe those 20-year-olds didn't want to be the next Seve Ballesteros. Maybe they wanted him to be the next Thomas Bjorn. Now let's finish on, obviously it's the Ryder Cup next weekend. You've been there many times before, you're vice captain this time. You look at the American team, looks pretty strong. Look at the European team, it looked pretty strong a few months ago. It's looking a lot stronger now. A lot of players are coming into form. Actually, form doesn't come into it anyway, does it, with the Ryder Cup? Because the Europeans have often punched above their weights. They seem to have had a better team collective than the Americans, certainly up until last time, which was a heavy defeat.
Yeah, but it's form does go out the window, and it's all about performance in the week. I'm very excited about this team because I think this is a new generation of European players, and I think when I look within this team, there's probably 7 or 8 of them that's going to be there for many Ryder Cups to come, and they're going to form a bond, and they're going to build on that bond now, and we go in all focused on winning this one, obviously, but I'm excited from a European Ryder Cup perspective for the future, and look at the youth that's coming through and seeing so many of them in the team, and they're a new generation. They think differently, they do differently, and they have to form their Ryder Cups. I came in, as you said, in '97 on the back of the greats of European golf. The Fowlers and Ballesteros and Montes, Langers, Ruzis, those players I came in on the back of. We learned a lot from them. We formed our own way of doing the Ryder Cup with Westwood and Clark and Garcia, and that became, and then a generation after that with Stensons, Rose and Poulters, and they kind of took over. Now it's a completely new generation. But, and I look at this team, and if you take Justin away, it's really, Rory and John Rahm that sits at the backbone of the team, and that's quite remarkable to think that that's now their lot in life, in their Ryder Cup lives, that they are, they are the big time players. I mean, they are big time players from the way they perform, but they're also the backbone of what happens in the team, and they now have to form how they see the Ryder Cup for the next 10-15 years, and lead all these young players with them into what is hopefully another year of great European Ryder Cup.
And those two love the Ryder Cup, don't they? I mean, John Rahm massively inspired by Seve and Sergio and Jose Maria Lafabao. Rory turns into a beast, doesn't he, when he wears the European shirt? So they're great. They're great people to sort of lead, aren't they? Yeah,
they are. But I think one of the great things about both of them is that they have a great respect for the history of the game, and very much realise that they are fortunate to be where they are in their careers, and a lot of people have laid a lot of hard work for them to sit in a world where the pinnacle of the game is regarded as probably one of the most successful sports there is out there, and they sit there and you know they reap all the benefits from all that everybody else has done in the last 30, 40, 50 years, and they both have great understanding of that, and they understand that it's for them to carry that on to the next generation and lead the way for this game to remain great and for the Ryder Cup to remain great.
And you got the youngsters, Scandinavians, load of Scandinavians. Is there an argument? They're so young and they're so confident and they're doing so well. There's no baggage. They just go out and enjoy it and have fun.
Well, they don't know what it's like to lose.
Yeah.
And we all find out some stage in
Yes.
our lives what it's like to lose, but they don't really know what it's like to lose, and that obviously is a benefit, and hopefully they'll find out much later than sooner, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the young players today come out differently, than we did. They're much more prepared. They're much more determined and focused on winning. We came out in a learning process. When you came on tour, you learned on tour. They're already ready to win and be the best when they come out of their amateur careers today.
You gonna win?
Yeah, I think we will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think I like this team. It's such a different team than any other team I've seen. But we spent a day in Rome last Monday, and we, there's a thing about this team. There's a thing about how they do things together. They're really in it, all of them. And so, yeah, I do think we will win. I never underestimate who we play against. I've never done it in my life, and I never will, because they are hugely successful and fantastic players, and they obviously found something last time in Whistling Strait that worked for this group of players. So I'll never underestimate who they are and what they stand for, and at any given time you can lose to an American side. But I strongly believe in our team that they'll rise above it, and then I strongly believe that the people on the sidelines will lift these guys to play the best golf of their lives.
We wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.